Welcome to Exploring Mystère, where presence meets enchantment and the unseen stirs into existence. I'm Stephanie Foley, your guide into the wilds of wonder, where curiosity meets intuition, embodied wisdom, and ancient mystery systems. Each episode opens a portal. Our creative alchemy and our embodied transformations are the threads of subtle magic that we weave into our everyday lives. And it's this cosmic dream weaving, the way that we create worlds. So, take a breath. Let your senses soften. Suspend disbelief and enter with me into the mystery. We're exploring ancient embodiment practices, martial arts, yoga, movement, massage, and dance as pathways to ancestral wisdom. Today, I'm joined by Charity Joy Robinson, a gifted movement artist whose 2 decades of global studies span yoga, dance, martial arts, and energy work. She brings deep integrity, creativity, and joy to every space she enters. We are so happy to have Charity Joy here with us today. Welcome, Charity. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks again for having me on. Well, I'm super excited to talk to you a little bit about my movement practices and my movement wisdom, but it is based on ancient lineages, and we'll be focused on 3 different ones that I have trained in extensively over the course of the last 20 years.
Awesome. How would you describe, let's start with a little get to know Charity, the essence of your work as a connection to ancient movement lineages, and what first led you to those practices of like yoga, Thai yoga, massage, and I'm going to ask you to pronounce the
Kalarippayattu. Some people, if they're British, will say Kalari, and most people, like when I'm in India, they say Kalari. So you can do the shortened version anytime you ask about it.
Kalari. That's easy to say. All right. Well, then I'll ask again, saying Kalari.
Yeah.
What first led you to study these ancient practices like yoga, Thai yoga, massage, and Kalari?
So the Thai yoga, massage, and yoga kind of came hand in hand. My mom was a yoga teacher, and she used to have all these DVDs of yoga DVDs and everything that we used, as a teenager, you're just like, oh, I'm going to try this out and try this out. And she was also studying online Thai yoga massage. It wasn't like an online course like we know of now, because this is back in like 1997. So it was like her manual sent to her, and then she would practice on us. So that was like my very most earliest memories of being introduced to those 2 lineages specifically. And it wasn't until I was living in South Korea, which was in 2007, I had to do a visa run. And I went to Thailand, and I thought, I'm just going to go for 2 weeks.
What's a visa run?
I said, I'll just sign up for a Thai. So basically, like, you can only stay in the country for maybe 30 days, 90 days, and then you have to leave the country and come back. So visa run. So I went to Thailand because it was close by, and I thought I'll do a Thai yoga massage training while I'm there. Well, I just signed up with the first thing that I kind of ran into when I got to Chiang Mai, which basically was like a one-on-one with a Thai woman who didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Thai. So it was an interesting training for 2 weeks. And I thought, okay, I like the practice. I like how I'm feeling, but I think I'm going to need a little more in-depth study. And at the time, it simultaneously connected me to a bunch of people who are doing Acro yoga, which is the type of yoga that combines Thai yoga massage, acrobatics, and breath meditation. So I met these people from California and Thailand who were studying Thai yoga massage so that they could incorporate into their yoga. And I started training with them a lot. And then
can I pause you just there for a second?
Schools.
I don't want to skip over this. You just listed a bunch of things that I would not have ordinarily put together, and I'm not sure our listeners would either, including acrobatics. Is that what you said? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I mean, I can go into a little bit more detail. Acro yoga, there's different components of it, but the basis is yoga, acrobatics, and Thai massage. Those are like the three main ones.
Very
And
cool.
it's
Very
basically
cool.
like you if you remember as a kid doing airplane on, an adult's feet, it's the essence of that is that play, that freedom as a kid. So you're hanging off someone's feet, but while you're hanging there, you're getting traction for your spine, and they're massaging up your spine, and it's a really cool practice, and it can be very therapeutic. And then the opposite side is very acrobatic, where you can do like flips on top of somebody's hands and land into handstand. So it's just another, way that we can see how ancient lineages actually kind of get grouped together to create these more modern practices that we know,
That's
that I
fantastic.
discovered.
I promise I'll let you get back to your story, but I just noticed this element of play. And when you were describing when we were children playing with this airplane, and it wasn't lost on me that you go by Charity Joy, and your whole body kind of lit up when you got to talk about the play part of it. And so much of it, I guess the important, serious part of it, the training and the honoring the ancient wisdom and those things are important, but that playfulness piece is where we light up. So I wanna dig into that a little bit today too. But that's just a little nugget. You can continue your story. But at any point you want to share more of that play, we're all about that here.
Well, it's interesting that you picked up on that, because in Thailand, I mean, a couple of things I noticed there is they call it the land of smiles. And I find in Thailand, it's very little judgment. I mean, you can kind of go there and do whatever you want. So my time there ended up turning into, instead of a 2 week, I think I was there for 4 months. And I started teaching breakdancing at the hotel where I was staying to all the Thai people, and I was meeting break dancers to like do miniature battles at the Chiang Mai market. And so it was, I just felt like this playful energy, like not just with the acro yoga, but with the Thai people in general. Like it's just very sweet and kind, little judgment. And it attracted me to want to know more about their culture. Hence the reason I jumped more into the Thai yoga massage training, not just at that point, but then years later, I ended up going back 2 different times to study in Bangkok while I was doing a guest practitioner series at a boutique hotel. So and every time I talk about Thailand, I think I light up. One is the playful, the land of smiles, this ancient lineage that traditionally, from my understanding, is back in the day, there would be one person in every Thai family that would dedicate their life to this practice, and they would heal the family. They would work on the family's bodies. So when I learned that, I thought, oh my God, how cool would that be if one person in each of our families dedicated their life to a healing modality that could help their family.
How cool would that
Yeah.
be indeed?
I can talk a little bit about Kalarippayattu, which I was first introduced to in Bali in 2012, around 2012, yeah. And I was helping with the yoga teacher training, and this woman from Australia was doing a Kalarippayattu workshop. And within that workshop, we were doing all of these animal crawls on the floor, and we did a super vigorous warm up, like jumping jacks and stretching. And I was like, oh my God, this is my practice. Like, this is what I've been looking for. I mean, this is 2012, so this was a long time ago. And at the time, I lived in the Caribbean, so I thought, oh, well, I'll find it again one day if it's meant to be. I didn't really, latch onto it. I was a very much free bird, kind of still am. And then it wasn't until 2018, there was a woman in New York where I lived who reached out to me, an Indian woman who lived in Australia. And she said, she had emailed me and she said, I got your information from someone at a juice shop that said, you might know of some places where I could teach Kalarippayattu and offer Kalari massages. So I'll get to kind of the different components of Kalari in just a moment. But so I responded right away thinking, oh my gosh, she wants to teach Kalari. And this, years before I had met this woman, and we ended up meeting, and the woman who I had trained with in Bali was one of her closest friends. So it was just kind of this cool interconnected meeting, divine timing. I thought, yes. So I ended up getting to do a couple of trainings with her in person, and then she went back to Australia, and so I started doing everything online with her. And since then, I've been to India now and trained with her and her teachers, and I've been teaching for 2 years to adults and kids. So it's just like it's just kind of grown in me, and knowing that first class that I took, it felt like, oh yeah, this is like bringing everything I love into one practice.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. Now, for the rest of us who maybe aren't called to that level of engagement with it, for us, and if I'm just an average Sally and I'm trying to think of how I want to be fit and healthy, or do I want to go to a yoga class, or do I want to try to explore something a little more robust or holistic, like what you're talking about? Like, what are the things I'm considering? How are the power of movement embodiment practices based in ancient wisdom different than modern fitness courses?
I find because these practices, these ancient lineages have been around for thousands and thousands of years. They've been tried and true. They've tried this thing, they've tested it out, they've tried it again, that didn't work, they tried it again. And I mean, Kalari's been around, they say 12,000 years. So when you have a practice that has been around for as long as that, you're like, there's got to be something to this. Whereas I find a lot of times in the modern embodiment practices, and I still engage in modern embodiment practices because they're fun and they're combining different things. I find that with them, they're not these tried and true practices that have been done for thousands of years, and usually they go through trends. We go to the essence, like for me, going to the essence of going to India, going to Thailand, going to these places where these practices have emerged. There's something that speaks more to not just your body, but it's like your spirit. And we know this mind, body, spirit connection is so prevalent in yoga and when we are doing embodiment practices, because it's all connected. And so if we're going to a fitness class, we're very focused on the physical aspect, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when we're going to an ancient practice like a Kalarippayattu class, we're tapping into all those things. We're doing a meditation to just calm our mind at the beginning. We're going to be doing like slow down our breathing between vigorous activities. We're going to be learning about self-defense. We're going to be learning how to utilize and control our body in a way that is most beneficial in our life in this day and age.
Do you think those embodiment practices can actually help us sort of tune into the unseen realms, intuition, insight, revelations?
I do. And it's an interesting topic to get into. I find that I have always been very curious about the unseen and maybe more tapped into the unseen in some ways. And I find that these practices boost that because they're allowing us to, yes, still our mind so that other things can show up. And, like that expression of getting out of your own way, like when you're in these practices, you're the only one who's really standing in your way with anything. It may be a teacher, it may be an opponent, it may be a client you're working on, but the essence of it is like you're tapping into this innate energy that runs through all of us, which is an energy that we can't see per se,
Right, right.
but it's there. And when you start doing even like the body work, that like Thai yoga massage, you're working with somebody else's energy. And a lot of times I'll just get a hit like, okay, I need to work on this part of the body. And then, usually the person will say, oh, how did you know that, this area I had this? And so it's an interesting way of quieting the mind and at the same time listening to that unseen energy that we know is there.
When you look at modern dance, can any of it be tied back to any of these ancient practices that you're aware of?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I always say all movement is connected because I do a lot of work with kids and they'll say, Miss Charity, why are we doing this movement on the ground, like crawling around like cats or cheetahs, like how does that have anything to do with the dance class we're about to do? I said, well, movement's all connected. And they say the yogis would watch the animals, and that's how so much of the movement, and even in Kalarippayattu, they watched the animals and how they moved. And so I mean, if you go to any, I shouldn't say any, but most modern dance classes, there's going to be an element of some ancient practice. I mean, if you go back to, even African dance, it's been around probably 1,000 years, couple hundred years. And so much of that is in the limelight now, you can go and see a Broadway show where most of it is, traditional African dance, and it's amazing. And it speaks to the people because there's that drumbeat, and there's that, like, I recognize something here. And sometimes we don't have the words to say, oh, this is speaking to me, because it's like it's coming from our ancestors. It's coming from something deep within that is actually connecting the past to the present.
So as we're talking about ancient practices like yoga, Thai yoga massage, and Kalaripai, what makes these tried and true over their thousands of years?
One thing is the three practices are all very different. Even though yoga is in Thai yoga massage, it's different because Thai yoga massage is somebody doing the practice for you, basically.
Whereas, so that's like an actual yoga, massage. It's not you holding poses and things like that.
Correct. And then in yoga, we can kind of see the tried and true system because of how it came to the West and basically exploded. So many people know what yoga is now opposed to 20, 30 years ago, even though it's been around for thousands of years. But just from my own personal experience, how yoga has helped me more connect to body, mind, spirit connection, as well as just strength and flexibility in the body, which also comes with Kalarippayattu, but in a different way. It's a very different practice, even though they're both based in the Vedic tradition. And you can talk to so many people. I have like a big network of other teachers who've been teaching for 20 plus years, and just watching people's whole physical bodies change from injuries, from stagnant energy, from sitting at a desk for too long, like minor to major life changes within their body. So like doing a certain sequence in their body, and even if it's a 20-minute practice every day, it's just something that is tried and true. And it's like, this is going to help your posture. This is going to make you feel more aligned in the body. And then with Kalarippayattu, because it's been around, I would say the longest of all three of those practices, at least according to texts and everything, there's so many components within it. And I won't go into too many of the details, but a big part of it that I learned recently when I was in India was there was this juggling of like, how do we be the warrior in the practice? How are we the fighter in the practice? How are we that archetype of like warrior? And then how do we change our hat to be the magician? The magician is the one who's doing the healings, because within Kalarippayattu, they have Kalari massages, which is based off Ayurvedic treatments. And so back in the day, these warriors would heal each other by using all different types of herbs and medicines and oils to treat any kind of injuries they had. So it was like they had a shift from this place of warrior hat to magician to healer. And I thought, even just recognizing that while I was there, like watching some of the guys who've been training more than half of their lives, how they seamlessly float from one thing to another. To me, that's a tried and true practice. Mm-hmm. Like they're embodying every part of that practice, and you can see it shine through with each hat that they put on. There's no disruption. They're just like, I'm fierce, I'm healer, I'm magician, I'm medicine maker, and it just like cohesively all works together. And you watch people who come there maybe not well, maybe kind of frail, they want to get strong, and you see over the course of even a couple of weeks how people's bodies start to shift and they build confidence because of the different types of trainings that they're doing and all the different practices that they can get involved with while at the ashram.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so I think most of us know what yoga is, and Thai yoga massage, understanding that that's a massage, but Kalaripai is more of a martial art, right? But how is it different than other martial arts?
So what a lot of people don't know is that Kalaripayattu is the original of all martial arts. So they call it the mother of all martial arts. And a lot of times, I mean, I would say like about half the martial artists that I've spoken to or have come encounter with have heard of it. Oh yeah, I've heard of that. But they don't really know like how old it is and that it predates most martial arts by thousands and thousands of years. And so the difference with that is, and it's the first, and like my teacher says, everything comes from Kalari. Like you watch any martial arts and you're like, oh, that comes from Kalari, that comes from Kalari. So it's quite interesting. And I've had the opportunity to be in retreats where we do more Chinese martial arts. I've done Brazilian martial arts. And more recently, I'm going to be teaching at an Aikido seminar next week. So just being able to kind of see, oh, look at that movement with the staff. That's so similar to what we do in Kalari, or look how they do the lock. So it's like, that's another way that we can see how all movement is connected. It's like, oh, they tried this and it worked, so we're going to keep on doing this. And then just the fact that it has, it has its own language to the practice, and a lot of martial arts, like in Taekwondo, which is a Korean martial arts, they learn how to count in Korean. And so usually as a practitioner of any martial arts, you start to get the more you're into it, there's a deeper understanding of, there's the spiritual side, there's a side of it, like you're actually learning a different language to an extent. And in Kalaripai, it does that, but then there's, again, the more like it has the complementary bodywork practices and the oil medicines that they make and the chanting that they do and the honoring of the lineage through different forms of salutation. So I can't speak to all martial arts, but from the ones that I've seen and experienced, I can say there's just another level of like ancient wisdom beneath it all.
We love ancient wisdom. How does movement help people remember who they are?
I love this question. I love it so much. Because my business has been Charity Joy Movement for the last 20 years. I am such a, advocate, connoisseur of movement, like all types of movement, whether that's, you're getting massage, someone is doing movement to you, you're training in yoga, martial arts, dance. I mean, movement therapy. I mean, everybody's using this word, somatic embodiment practices. And it's like, how does it remember who we are? Because this is what we've been doing since the beginning of time. And so when we come, and you can even do this practice where if you've been sitting all day, I mean, I have clients, I hear this all the time. Oh, I sit all day. You probably know. And I'm like, I actually don't know. I mean, I don't relate to like, oh, you know what it's like. And I'm like, no, because I don't sit in a desk most of the day. I'm moving around, I'm teaching, I'm crawling on the ground with kids. So there's always this essence of movement. And even if I'm moving somebody's body, they're suddenly remembering like, oh yeah, that feels good. And innately what feels good is where we come from. So how does movement connect us to remembering who we are is, I mean, the basis of it, this is what we were born to do, is movement. And I can guarantee 99% of the people who move or add a little extra movement in their day are like, oh my God, it feels good. Oh, this feels good. Oh, I'm feeling good. It's like I'm walking my walk, talking my talk. Suddenly it's just, you're like, yeah, I'm grooving. So remembering who we are, which is these joyful, moving creatures.
I love that. And I love that you love this question so much. So, Charity, I wonder, how do you personally align your own life with these principles that we've talked about today?
Some of what I'm going to say will go slightly off
That's
topic
okay.
because some of the rituals I do are Wiccan practices. So when I am in a place where I can do this, I usually light a candle every morning and I call in the directions as a way to just honor Mother Earth and all the creatures on the planet. And I find that connects me back to all these ancient lineages. I mean, in Kalarippayattu, they have a putara set up, which is an altar set up, and they light the oil lamps and they do a prayer to it. So before I train Kalari, I usually have my incense or a candle or something that and even if I don't have any of those, if I'm out in the woods, like I will be today when I'm training, then I just face the southwest corner. So in every tradition, there's usually one way we face or a direction that we can call in certain aspects of the practice or certain aspects or characteristics or archetypes. So that's one ritual of mine. Another one is, for years and years, I've been doing the Tibetan rites, which is another ancient practice, but we didn't even talk about that today. But it's very basic 5 exercises where the Tibetan monks took yoga poses and combined it with some movement, and you work up to 21 reps of each one. It basically takes 5 minutes. I learned it in Thailand, and it just, like, I've taught it to my mom. She does it every day. I teach it to people all the time because I'm like, it's 5 minutes, and then it's getting people to move. So I'm like, yeah, this practice, you spin in a circle 21 times, so you get kind of like, you kind of go into this like mystical realm for, a couple seconds in the morning. Like, that was cool. And then just my daily practice of doing Kalaripayattu, whether I'm doing staff on the beach or I'm walking through the woods and doing some of my forms, or I'm practicing like a short yoga sequence. And then with the Thai yoga massage, it's really, that kind of depends on one client's book, but there is a mantra or a prayer within Thai yoga massage called Metta, which translates to loving kindness. And so every time I go to work on someone, I do a prayer inviting Metta, so that the practice and my hands-on will be for the highest good of anyone involved in that moment or for that session. And so it's just, there's a whole Thai yoga massage prayer. It's kind of long, so I usually just ask for Metta, and then I flow with that. So those are a couple, small things that I do. And then, if I go on retreat or I go to India for a month, then they get a little bit more involved. But, just to kind of keep it simple.
You really are very much exploring as a way of life. And so when you reflect back on your exploring, and I'd love to invite you back sometime to talk more about your travels, as you reflect on that exploring, what is the common thing that is happening that makes it movement? And how does that drive you? Because I think it does.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is remembering who I am. Like, as you were kind of remembering who I am from that place of movement. And I mean, it's an interesting topic, but it also reminds me of this idea of home and where is our home. And this is like a big contemplation of mine because I'm writing a memoirs called, Finding My Place in the No Place. And like, where is my home? And then a few years ago, it was like, my home is right here. It's right inside of here. And so if I'm doing movement inside of my home, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm connecting back to the essence of who I truly am.
I just got chills because what I feel like you're conveying is that when you move, whether it's a micro movement of within a 3-foot radius or a continental movement to explore a new realm, movement to you is the act of coming home.
Mm. Yeah, that's like, nailed it, Stephanie.
That's so beautiful. I'm so inspired by that, Charity. Okay, I have loved talking with you today. We're going to have you back for sure. And in the meantime, let's tell our listeners, where can they connect with you and your work?
So as I mentioned earlier, my business is Charity Joy Movement. So my website's Charity Joy Movement. Instagram is Charity Joy Movement. Facebook's Charity Joy Robinson. But my website basically leads you to everything. It has the online classes on there that I do for Kalarippayattu, where you can book for Thai yoga massage. Currently, I'm in the northeast of the United States, but that changes very fast considering I'm into movement and I'm moving my geographical location a lot. So you just never know where I'm going to land and may be available for those kinds of sessions. And then for yoga, I'm currently teaching at a local studio in Massachusetts, but I'm looking at creating more of a movement portal in the next couple months that you can train and do some of this work with me online.
Excellent.
So
I will put all the links
charityjoinmovement.com.
in the places.
Yeah,
It's been so great to connect with you, Charity. If you have any last words for our listeners.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, these are just 3 of the practices that have aligned with me: the Kalarippayattu and yoga. And of course, there's hundreds of ancient lineage practices out there, and it may be a combination of those practices for you out there that you're like, I like this, but I like to combine it a little bit with this. And that's kind of how we've come up with all these hybrid ways of healing ourselves and being embodied. So I just encourage people to remember to listen to their bodies, and maybe we could just do a short little practice here before we close.
Let's.
So I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes. And this is just a way of tapping into what is happening right now. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale out. And I just want you to simply notice the thoughts, the body parts, the cells within your body. Notice if there's any specific body parts where the energy seems to be escalated or more calm. And just take another full breath in. Exhale. And with that exhale, sending gratitude out in all directions for you and your body and the world that we live in. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes and get out there and start exploring what movement your body wants to jump into.
Beautiful. Thank you, Charity. Thank you. And
You're
thank you all
welcome.
for listening.
Thanks, Stephanie, for having me.
Thank you for joining me on this journey through Exploring Mystère. Remember, you don't have to solve all the mysteries. You only have to wonder what happens when you invite enchantment into your life. Wisdom is always near, shimmering in the spaces between thought and form. So if you felt something stir within you, follow it. I'd love to hear about your dreams, synchronicities, and questions that are part of this living field we are co-creating. To explore further, you can visit us at moonfeatherhollow.com for courses, coaching, and lunar tools like our Dream War of Moonlit Alchemy. This is our guided journal for dream weaving and intuitive reflection. And if Exploring Mystère feels like home, please share it with a fellow seeker or leave a review. Your voice is part of the living field. Until next time, may you walk gently with the mystery and let the shimmer show you the way.